Despite the Mark Williams trade falling through, the Lakers showed that they're really trying to get a center and really trying to upgrade their roster. Not only moving forward, but even this season, they're trying to. Unfortunately hit the trade deadline and couldn't alter that trade or make a different trade after that one, but they really showed that they're trying to upgrade their team and address every need on their team too. Which, according to a new report, definitely impressed Luka Donic. According to Mark Stein, Luka's camp was very impressed with the Lakers trying to act and listen on what he wanted their team to do, saying quote-unquote, in Luka Doncic's first discussion about roster construction with Lakers Vice President of Basketball Operations Rob Pelinka, he told Pelinka that he understood it might take until summer to make that addition, and came away impressed with how swiftly the Lakers initially tried to make that move and address that void for their team, that being a center. And with that being said, it's very impressive what they tried to do. Luka is definitely on board with it, and theoretically that should translate to a good working long-term relationship. Now maybe LeBron might be a little bit moved by it in a bad way, them not making different moves to address what he wanted and or what Anthony Davis wanted, but then immediately trying to address what Luka Doncic wanted, and there might be a little bit of feud, a little bit of confusion between that, but it does say a lot about what the Lakers are trying to do for Luka Doncic, and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to give Luka Doncic at center. As we all know, he played with two very talented and two very athletic big men back in Dallas. Between Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, that was a whole lot to work with in regard to a lob threat, a good rim protector, good defenders in general, and fairly versatile big men despite lacking a three-point shot. And with that in mind, that's what he's been used to playing with and definitely would like to continue playing with. Obviously and unfortunately it can't be those two, but definitely would like a similar big man to play with, and that's what the Lakers tried to do with Mark Williams. And according to a different report, per Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, looked into getting a similar player like Jalen Duren prior to trading for Mark Williams, and also a very young and promising center, definitely a good lob threat, a good rim protector, and a guy that could grow with Luka Doncic. Or even apart from Duren, other sources said that they looked into and maybe tried trading for guys like Rob Williams, Miles Turner, Jericho Sims, and Jakob Poeltl at the trade deadline. So with that being said here, they're obviously trying to address their need at center, weren't very comfortable heading forward with only Jackson Hayes, despite playing very well for their team lately, and definitely do want to address that concern for their team going forward. And well, I imagine they will address it, and probably sooner rather than later. After this season, that will likely be priority number one for their team, apart from retaining a guy like LeBron James, of course, that will be ahead of it, but right after that, addressing their need at center, getting Luka Doncic the athletic lob threat, athletic rim protector, and a guy they can probably pair with him for the next decade. So with that being said here, we're going to talk about how they can address that during the offseason, guys that they likely will target, might target, and why it would make sense for them to target, either through free agency or the trade market. We're going to talk about that and individually break down their likely trade targets going forward. And without further ado, let's dive right into it. So for target number one, I think we gotta talk about Miles Turner, a guy that's been on their radar for about half a decade at this point, at least 3 to 4 years at the bare minimum, and once again could be on their radar again going forward. Light reports said that they might have tried looking into trading for him, not only from this report from Clutch Points, but a few others at the trade deadline. And while it definitely would have made sense for them, with the Indiana Pacers having a bit of a salary cap issue going forward, they're really pushing that second apron, and that's kind of become salary cap hell for teams with the new CBA, so he might be a financial casualty for their team going forward. He will be a free agent this offseason, and if they don't retain him, obviously he could sign with any team he wants to, or they could then sign and trade him, try to get at least something for him, and I imagine the Lakers would definitely be one of the teams interested in him. Unfortunately not a lob threat. That's my only one big gripe with him. Luka Doncic really likes playing with a lob threat, like I mentioned with guys like Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, both of which are a whole lot better at being a lob threat compared to Miles Turner. Yes, he can kind of be a lob threat, obviously he's very tall at about 6'11", 7 foot, with about a 7'5" wingspan. So yes, he kind of can catch them, but definitely not an athletic lob threat. Not a guy that you can simply throw at the rim and he'll go get it. Can sometimes do that for them or for their team, but not really that great, and not compared to a Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively. Apart from that though, definitely what you want at center. A great rim protector, maybe not as good as he once was, but still nearly borderline elite, averaging about 2 blocks per game in about 31 minutes per game, averaging about 1 steal per game to go with it, A great rim protector, a guy that's definitely reliable around the rim, can anchor and man your defense, and if you don't have great perimeter defense, you want a guy like Miles Turner behind them, which likely will be the case for the Lakers going forward. Between Luka Doncic and LeBron, two not so great defenders at this point, can be who they want to be, around average to good, but definitely not great, so you do want a good rim protector behind them. And then on top of that, a really good 3-point shooter, pretty elite for a big and definitely for a true center. This season shooting nearly 40% from beyond the arc on 5.1 attempts per game, and that's very high volume shooting for a big. So between the rim protection and the floor spacing, that's a luxury to have at the 5, and especially with ball dominant guys like Luka and LeBron. A guy they can actually kick it out to, and he can knock down a 3-point shot reliably. Maybe the Lakers' 3-point shooting curse might factor in with him, but if you're going to go with a safe bet and try to go with a safe bet, then Miles Turner would be your best bet at center in regard to 3-point shooting. And like I said before, he will be a free agent, doesn't have a team option or a player option, he'll be an unrestricted free agent, therefore allowing him to sign with any team that he wants to, and the Pacers really have no control over that if they don't give him a surprise extension, which they theoretically could do prior to the free agency, but I kind of doubt it, again with their salary cap situation, unless you take a major pay cut for them, or they would trade somebody else away and free up salary cap on their team. They really don't have a good way to address it, and again, he might be a financial casualty for their team. But with that being said, even though he would be a good fit for the Lakers, it would cost a pretty penny to get him. Either through a trade or simply signing him. They really can't sign him right now. They're above the salary cap, or at least projected to be above the salary cap. And with Miles Turner likely commanding about 25, 30 to even 35 million per season going forward, that's something they really can't afford. Unless they would salary dump about half their team, which obviously wouldn't be a good plan for them. So yes, it would have to come through a sign and trade for them, which theoretically could be possible. A team like Golden State made about 3 or 4 sign and trades last summer, so yes, the Lakers could do it. That would require them to stay under the second apron, which they probably plan to do anyways, but it still would be difficult nonetheless. To simply match that contract through a trade and stay under the second apron while doing it, they'd probably have to trade Rui Hachimura with a guy like Gabe Vincent with him, then give Turner that 3 to 4 year contract worth about $30 million per year, and that would be a pretty penny for them. I definitely would be open to hearing it out, at the bare minimum, hearing it out, hearing what they have to offer for him or what they want for him, what the Lakers have to give up, and for a center needy team like the Lakers, it definitely is worth looking into in my opinion. After that though, I think another target that would make sense to them, and although not on the free agent market, maybe on the trade market and very likely on the trade market as well. With that player being Nick Claxton of the Brooklyn Nets, a team they made a trade with lately, being for Dorian Finney-Smith, trading away D'Angelo Russell, so they would have a good trade foundation to build off of here. And with the Nets reportedly having Wade trades for him, his playing time decreasing in the past year, kind of reluctantly giving him that last contract, simply giving it to him not to lose him, and likely giving it to him with the intention of trading him for more assets in return in the future. And well, that's where a team like the Lakers might come in. They definitely need a center, obviously, and a guy like Nick Claxton could be a good fit for them. Talking about that lob threat that Luka likes to play with and kind of needs around him, at least a little bit within the rotation, Nick Claxton would be a great fit for that. A very athletic vertical threat, can definitely go up there and get lobs, whether you're talking about the half-court setting or the full-court setting. A very mobile big, and unlike Miles Turner, not only the lob threat but then defensively, both are good rim protectors, but Nick Claxton is a much more switchable defender, can actually switch 1 through 5, and yes, I'm not joking about that, kind of replicating what they got from Anthony Davis, can not only play drop coverage and provide great rim protection, but then switch on defense too. So that would give them more versatility on defense, compared to like a Miles Turner that's more of a drop coverage defender. Again, a very good one at that, but Nick Claxton's a bit more switchable, maybe not as good of a rim protector, but a very good defender nonetheless. Back in 2023, he finished top 10 in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and that says a lot about him. So from that standpoint, the lob threat standpoint, and from what everything he can do on the court, a pretty good scoring threat around the rim, primarily from dump-offs and pick-and-roll play, but the occasional post move, has a pretty good touch at the rim. Led the league in field goal percentage back in 2023 again, 70.5%, shooting 63% this season after that one, and currently 55%, a down year for him again, but I think that's partly due to them phasing him out of their offense. Obviously still playing a lot, about 27 minutes, but not as much as he once did, and I think that could lead to him being on the trade block. And well, once again, it would take a pretty penny to get him. Something like Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent to make the money work, simply make the trade work financially, and that would be a lot simply from that. Then on top of that, likely a first round draft pick, whether it be an unprotected first round draft pick or a lightly protected one, probably couldn't do much more than that, and that's their only tradable first round draft pick left, so it would cost a lot for them. It might be worth it, obviously depending on who you ask, but again, for a center needy team like the Lakers, and desperately one that wants to pair a center with Luka Doncic long term, can't forget to mention that Claxton's only 25 years old and could be a long term fit for them, could be their long term solution at center, and a really good fit with Luka Doncic. So from that standpoint, I'd definitely look into it. Would I give up that much for him? Maybe, maybe not, but definitely would look into it, and he would be at the top of my list. And well, if I'm being honest, they're definitely the top two of my list, and probably two of the only centers I'd really go after heavily this offseason, especially giving up that much for them. Don't get me wrong, not the only centers, but the only ones I really talk about a lot right now in regard to skepticism and trying to make something work theoretically. As with the current free agent market, apart from Miles Turner, we're talking about older guys and near washed up guys like Clint Capella, Steven Adams, Al Horford, Brook Lopez, Kevon Looney, Andre Drummond, Dwight Powell, and guys like that. Not a whole lot to like there. Then with the trade market, of course, you never know who might be available. They nearly pulled off a trade for Mark Williams, so really anything's possible. Maybe a guy like Jalen Duren, they called about him. Maybe a different guy that we can't think of, but in regard to two that probably will be available and definitely would be a good fit for them and worth giving up quite a bit for, I'd be taking a hard look at Miles Turner and Nick Claxton. But with that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the center market for their team going forward and who they maybe should target for their team and to pair with Luka Doncic? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell